What is up, everybody? It's your boy Young Fizz, aka mr.dopestatus on Instagram, and welcome back to another video. Today, we're looking at all new trash. Trash complements distortion with features that let you fine-tune your sound or take them beyond what you would expect from a distortion effect. Some of the key features include randomization, which helps you spark new ideas, multi-band processing, in which you can use trash and convolve modules on specific frequency bands, filters for shaping tone of the distortion. Also experiment with the X and Y pads. Last but not least, audio levels, which have a huge impact on your sound. Trash comes in multiple different versions. In addition to the full version, Trash Lite makes a reduced set of key features available for free. Both Trash and Trash Lite are also available for iPad. The desktop version is available in AAX, AU, and VST3 plugin formats. iPad supports Logic Pro for iPad AU v3 plugin format. You can upgrade from Trash Lite to the full version and unlock all of its features. Alright, so here we are and we are looking at the Trash interface, and you might be thinking to yourself that, hey, this kind of looks familiar, like you've seen it somewhere before. And if you're thinking that, you're more than likely correct, because in 2003, iZotope released the original version of Trash. And then, technology, of course, evolved over the time. And in 2012, Trash 2 was released. And then again, here we are in 2024, technology has gotten a lot better, graphics have got a lot better. So today I want to reintroduce to you guys Trash. So my goal for today is to help you understand Trash so that you can download it in the link in the description below and get to using it today. So first things first, I want to give you a general overview so you understand where everything is at. And then I want to go into detail on the plugin. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand how to use Trash. So at the top, we have something called a header. And basically, this is where your global controls are. You have things like bypass, you have mix, you have your presets, and then you have your gear icon. So right here, again, you have your dice, and this basically allows you to randomize things. So you might be searching for sounds and just kind of drive for inspiration. So you just press this button right here, and then it's just going to randomize the sound. Right next to that is your preset, so you can select different presets. And then you have your left right arrows, which you can go to the next one or back one. Then we have our bypass button. Then we have our mix, which is really a blend control. So how much do you want to hear the process signal versus the original signal? And the cool thing about this here is, as you just saw on the screen, it says controls the global dry wet ratio of trash and processing. So if you get lost, you can always hover your mouse over control and it can kind of just show you what is what. So that is like the blend control, mix control. And then again, we have our gear icon here. So all that again is located in the header. So the next thing we have here is the multi-band display. And this lets you configure up to 3 frequency bands. So you have your low, you have your mid, and then you have your high. And that's the cool beauty in this plugin here, is it allows you to have total control of your sound. So if you're not familiar with multi-band compression or maybe multi-band EQ filtering, this is kind of similar to this, but with this here, you're actually controlling the sound with, the built-in tools in this plugin here. So this is some really awesome stuff. Down below that, you're going to have something called a trash module. And this basically allows you to combine different distortion types with the powerful tilt filter. And we're going to get into more of that in just a second here. But before we do, I want to go ahead and talk about the CONVOLVE, which is right next to that. And this is the CONVOLVE module. And this basically allows you to create depth, and it processes 4 different impulse responses. And we're going to get into that a little bit later as well. Next, we have the envelope controls, which is down here. We have our modulation, attack, release, pretty standard for most envelope controls. And then we have our filter section here. And this basically, you're just able to really sculpt your sound, and you can add different effects, just a really screaming layer of distortion. So definitely check that out there. And then last but not least, we have our input and output. And this gives you controls to really manage the levels of the plugin. And this is going to be really important to shape your sound here. So now that you have an idea of where everything is located, now I want to dive into the specifics of each section here, starting with the multi-band display. So the multi-band display in Trash is very powerful. And you might be asking yourself, well, why is this powerful? So if you're not familiar with multi-band compression, in multi-band compression, you're allowed to compress certain frequencies, whether it's the low, mid, or the high. That same technology is brought over here to Trash. So with Trash, you can control the different frequency bands. So let's just say, for example, you want to distort the low band. You want to distort the mid band and then distort the high band. You have different controls and different levels. You can do a lot of different things with the different bands. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Right now you have the global band, which is pink right here. Now, if I take these little icons here, they look like scroll icons, and if I drag them towards the center, you're gonna notice that there's different bands are created. So right here, we have the low band, and that's the yellow. Then we have the pink band, which is the mid band. So something maybe like that there. And then we have the high band, and this looks purple here. And then you can adjust the different, the dB, whether it's low or high, it's different outputs. So you have a lot of control. Not only that, but let me show you what I'm talking about. So let's just say, for example, you have something playing, and I have a drum loop here. I could trash this here. So let's just drag up this here. I believe this is the drive. And that's just affecting the low band. Or if I wanted to affect the high band separately, see how that just reset there? So if I go over here, you see where I made my initial adjustments. If I go here, then you can see how it just kind of reset for me. So what I can do is just add something different. And I can adjust the mid band as well. And then I can also use my dB to add how much I want to blend in there. So you can already start to see the different possibilities of what you can control here and really create a sound. The next thing I want to talk about is the solo button. So already we have our frequencies here, and then now we have our solo button. So let's just say we want to solo this here. What this does by default is automatically mute these two bands, so you're just focusing on this one here. Same thing for the highs here, so. So that's the mids here, and then this is the highs. And then you notice when I have this clicked here, I can also solo this one as well. So you can really monitor what you're doing there. And then I kind of already touched on the band gain, which you can just control this here. It goes all the way from 10 dB plus 10 to looks like -40 there. And then again, we have our different crossover frequencies just by dragging these either to the left or to the right. So again, you have your frequency band, you have your solo, you have your band gain, and then you have your crossover frequency. So already you can kind of see how powerful this is to control your sound. All right, so now that we talked a little bit about the multi-band display, I do want to talk about the trash module here. And this is where you can really get creative with your sound. So right here, you're going to notice there is a on and off switch. So this allows you to activate or deactivate, or rather bypass, however you want to call it. But basically you press this button here and it turns it off, and then it just goes right to the CONVOLVE. And again, over here, you can turn this on and off, but we're going to get to that in a second, but check this out. All right, and the next thing we have here is the drive, and you saw me kind of adjust that earlier. So with this basically controls the intensity of like how much of that sound or that distortion sound do you want in your signal. All right, now we have our modulation amount, which is controlled right here. All right, so right now I'm using the global control on the multi-band here. Next thing we have is our cool X and Y pad here. So this is where you can get really creative as well. So that just really serves as a visual representation here. The next thing we have is our distortion selector, which is right here. So you can select different presets here. We have our randomize button here as well. And we have our modulation node as well. So really cool stuff there. The next thing we have is going to be our swap. So if we want to change, what comes first, we can just do this here, press this button here. And that's going to put the convolve before the trash. So that just kind of gives you a different sound. So the next thing that we have here is the style pane. And this is kind of a hidden control. If you're not looking for it, it's going to be located right here. And you can adjust more stuff here. So just awesome stuff that you can adjust here. The next thing we have here is the mix, and basically this allows you to blend between the input and the output of the trash module. So this really is just adjusting your distortion effect, saying how much distortion do you want in your signal? Do you want to blend the signal? Kind of like almost like a parallel compression in a sense. So remember, the drive controls the intensity while the mix really controls the blend. And keep in mind, these are frequency band specific. So again, if you're using the multi-band controls up here, just be mindful of what you're controlling. All right, so the next thing we have here is the tilt control, which is located right here. And this basically serves almost like an EQ. So let's go ahead and turn this to the left here. And let's turn it to the right. Let me change the band so we can get a better image here. So you can tell with it to the right, it controls the brightness really. And then when it's selected to the lower section here, it controls the darkness. Check the mid-band out here. All right, and the next thing we have here is the tilt frequency. And this basically just adjusts the center frequency. So whatever point it is at here. So let's say 500. Or we can move it to the right to a higher frequency here. I also talked a little bit about the distortion selector here, where you can select different presets here. Then you have your dice here, and then you have your different presets here as well. And that is pretty much the trash module. The next thing we're going to talk about is the convolve module. So now that you have an understanding on how to use the trash module, I now want to move over to the convolve module. Now the convolve module lets you blend together up to 4 different impulse responses with its intuitive XY pad. And I'm going to show you how to use that in just a second here. But I do want to go over some of the controls here. So just like the trash module, you have your on and off switch in which you can activate or deactivate / bypass or unbypass, which is right here. Bypass that here in trash. So the next thing here is we have our mix knob, and I'm gonna go ahead and let this appear up here. So this basically adjusts the amount of convolution applied for the mid band. And remember, this is band specific. So right now I have the mid band highlighted, and then I have this one here. So you can adjust the different convolutions here. So whether it's low, mid, or high, if you want to take out the low, and you can also change other stuff as well. The next control is the stereoizer, and basically this allows you to create a wider image. And then with that, you can use the width to basically make it either mono or stereo. Then of course you have your XY pad here. So some really cool stuff going on here. And then also just like the trash module, you have your different presets down here. So you can have the another hall here. You can really change your ambience here. You have your other presets here, reverbs. Pretty much select whatever, just kind of experiment, have the dice, we can roll it and just be random if we want to. Still some pretty awesome stuff. Last but not least, I think it's important to note that you can import your own responses here. You just click this button here, then you go down to custom, and then you just hit that plus button there. And then you can load your own impulse responses. All right, so I'm gonna skip over the envelope section and I wanna skip right to the filter section. And the filter section just allows you to really scope your sound. And I wanna show you some of the cool things you can do with the filter section here. So there's really 3 controls here, which is the frequency, the scream, and the heat. And then of course you have your modulation, how much modulation you want to add in there as well. So the frequency basically adjusts the cutoff, right? So if you want it to be low, high, how do you want it to be cut off here? So check this out. So it just allows you to add that extra layer of the filter there. So the next thing we have here is something called scream, and this acts as a resonance control. All right, and then last but not least, you have something called heat. And basically what this does, this adjusts the gain, enable you to drive the filter into saturation and add another layer of distortion to your sound. So check this out. So that is pretty much the filter section. The next section I'm going to talk about is the input and the output. So the input and output controls are pretty much straightforward. You have your input gains right here. You have your output gain. You have your auto gain. You can either turn that on or off. And then you have your limiter to control. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, remember to give it a thumbs up. Go down to the description below and click that link to purchase this and get using it today. You are definitely going to want to spend some time with this plugin. Just experiment with it. It's your boy Young Fizz, aka mr.dopestatus on Instagram. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you on the next tutorial. Thank you for watching. We out.